Hello, everybody. Happy New Year from all of
Woohoo!
us, all three of us, here at the Cup, brought to you by Cup of Hemlock Theatre. I will be your host for this episode, Ryan Borochovitz, co-artistic producer here at Cup of Hemlock Theatre,
Right.
and I'm joined also by my co-artistic producer, Mackenzie Horner. Hello, Mac. How are you doing today?
Hello, Ryan Borochovitz. No flannel today, I see.
No,
Try to
just
start a new fashion trend this
I
year?
only own like two or three flannel shirts, Mac. It's weird that that's become my brand in your eyes.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of flannel
I
of
think I have
flannel
shirts that
online.
look more flannel on the camera than they actually are.
That's it.
The
That's it.
very
That's it.
specific fiber.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the 200s of our episodes, folks, and we're
Yeah.
still bringing the same quirky jokes. Here we are,
Yeah.
New Year,
That's
same
right.
us.
And
That's
speaking of
right.
which, who's that other voice? Why, I believe it's our associate artistic producer, Jillian Robinson. Hi, Jill. How are you doing today?
Hello, folks.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. Mackenzie, Ryan. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm feeling extra quirky today on the episode as well, so maybe that's coming into 2026. Excited to reflect on 2025.
Yes. Well, this is an extra quirky New Year episode we're doing here on the Cup Editorial, where we give ourselves the freedom to talk about whatever we want. And last year, we began what's shaping up to be an annual tradition, where the first episode of the year is an editorial reflecting on the previous year of theater in Toronto and roughly on the coverage of theater that we do here on the Cup. So once again, I've done some number crunching that I'm excited to share with all you people about this.
Stats.
Yeah, some hard stats on our
Yes.
output. But before we get into any of that fun, very nerdy stuff, I have to ask both of you lovely people my favorite opening question. What is in your cup today? Mr. Mackenzie Horner, why don't you go first?
Well, I'm currently getting over a cold, so I am drinking some Earl Grey tea with some honey from the Cup.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mac, okay, this is fun because you both have the same mug. Ryan and Mackenzie have the cup. But Mac, I am drinking Earl Grey tea, so we have the same beverage.
Whoa.
We didn't plan this. This is my little smiley. Well, it's not little. It's actually quite large. Looks like the size of my face if you are watching this on YouTube.
It is a good time.
Yeah, this is just a smiley face mug I actually received from my friend Marie Doucette, who's been on the episode before. So thank you, Marie. I too have Earl Grey tea, and I believe I'm at the beginning of this weird sniffly cold thing that's going around the city, so we're trying to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Listen, something's going around, man. It hit me last week, and I did my Sunday weigh-in. I was down over 5 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
You sneezed out 5 pounds worth of phlegm.
I took it from the holidays.
I did something because I was like, damn.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. Stay safe out there, folks.
It comes in waves. It starts off with achy bodies and goes toward a headache, and then somehow becomes a sniffle, and then becomes a cough, and yeah, it's got phases. It's got phases it hits you at.
And in my cup, with nobody wanted to ask about.
Sorry, yes. We knew it was the cup, but do you have Earl Grey tea?
Is it vodka?
It is not either Earl Grey tea nor vodka. Because both of those would be very in character for me. I actually have a different tea than usual. This is a Yorkshire tea.
Oh, Stratford had those.
I got this at Stratford.
Yes, in honor of Sense and Sensibility.
What is that? What it's there for? Okay, that's interesting.
That's what they were giving it out for. It was for their Sense and Sensibility production.
It's good to know that they were giving it out, because I was about to say that I stole this from Stratford.
No.
That's hilarious.
As I was doing an interview with Caroline Toll, who played Anne of Green Gables, and Anne of Green Gables also has an understudy track in Sense and Sensibility. So I was interviewing her for an article I was writing, and they set us up in that special lounge on the first floor of the Festival Theater.
Yes.
And they just had a bunch of these for taking for the fancy people who use that lounge, which I felt like I shouldn't be, because I know you have to be a special donor of a certain tier to be in that room. But that's just where they put me. But Caroline told me, hey, take some tea, it's free. So I'm like, okay. And I felt like I was stealing it. So
I got mine because I spent more than $50 at the gift shop. And so they were like, here, have a box of tea.
Yeah, that's
fun link too. I got one from the One of a Kind show, which was the winter Christmas expedition, that happened over the holidays too. So I also have a box of that tea in my cabinet.
Go
Yorkshire
tea.
Is doing some heavy promotions at different shows.
Truly is taking it to the next tier.
Hey.
Ha
Okay.
I
ha!
also just noticed that on the bottom here, there's a cutout coupon for $1 off Yorkshire tea. So I might
Whoa,
have
keep it
to,
coming.
I might take advantage of that. This is going to be my new go-to beverage here
There
on
we
If
go.
you
the cup.
combine all three of ours, that's $3 off, folks.
Whoa. How much is a
Yorkshire
box of
tea, send
this?
us some boxes, we'll sponsor
Yes. Hashtag not yet sponsored.
Could you imagine?
you.
Please, yes, Yorkshire
We'll-
tea, contact us.
We'll tag them in this video.
It makes
Yorkshire tea.
sense. We're the cup. We just use all
It's our
like
whole thing.
here we go. We're going to the end of the episode already. Like the goal for 2026 is every beverage company to sponsor this podcast. We will get it on there.
We might need to boost our viewership a little bit because let's talk about the stats.
Let's do it.
Well, hold on, Ryan. We're skipping the first question you gave us.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. Before we get into the stats, I need to be very vague and ask you a vague general question. I will get very specific in a moment, but first, without getting into any specifics, how do you two feel about Cup of Hemlock Theatre's output in the year of our Lord 2025?
I
Jill,
will start
yes,
us
please.
off. I feel like my output in 2025 in the cup was my usual output, consistent E, but personally, I was more a muggle than an artist, in my opinion. I did work quite a bit at I don't work there anymore, but at my serving marketing general management job. I feel like that was sort of more of taking up my time, and then the cup beautifully supplemented any free time with seeing shows and still being present and invested. But it definitely was a different flavor for me this year because I feel like in previous years, I would have had a pretty easy balance between like day jobs and being the artist. And then the cup was like a lovely accessory to all of that. And in a way, this year, I feel the cup was this beautiful like rescue outlet for me, to be quite honest. So as a spectator, it was a different vibe for me. I'm extremely grateful for it because it kept my teeth sunken into my purpose, which already we're back on that track in 2026. So that's my view of my output with it. But then just seeing everything kind of going to our YouTube page and seeing all the thumbnails and all the variety we did, we still did it, folks. Like between the three of us, we still kept this sucker going. I think there's a lovely blend of all the different tiers that we offer. And I'm just proud of us for kind of navigating. I know all three of us were busy in our own way. And I feel like we did a really good job of if one of us couldn't do it, the other two stepped up, vice versa. So Golden Trio is still solid gold, in my opinion.
Okay, solid gold. Moving on to another member of that solid gold trio, Mac. How do you feel unspecifically about our output in 2025?
Just in general, I thought we had a very good year. I mean, there were some shakeups and some elements of how we did our stuff that I think we handled well, considering it was at first it was a bit of a oh my gosh, how are we gonna find people to do certain things, and we were able to kind of cover that and grow, and I thought that was a great thing. I mean, on a personal note, I did more interviews than I ever have done in the past.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a fun little side quest of Max. So, yeah, no, I think overall it was a very, very solid year here at the Cup. I mean, we're keeping this ship running. I think, as Jill says, we keep getting mentioned by other companies and around the city, so clearly our name is growing, even if our viewers are still steady and, local, but we're still there. We're still hustling. I definitely think we're hustling in the right directions, and I think we'll just keep on growing and growing and growing, and hopefully maybe get some Yorkshire tea sponsorships at some point.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'll say, similar to what you, Jill, said, on a personal note, the beginning of 2025 was a weird transitional period for me that I became kind of unexpectedly the lead theater critic at Next Magazine, which pivoted my attention away. I saw more shows this past year than any other year in my life, but a lot of them couldn't necessarily be time and energy that I could devote to the Cup. So we had to have a conversation, the three of us, early in the year about how I'm certainly not leaving the Cup. I definitely want to stay part of it. I will continue to do episodes, but maybe not as many. And wouldn't that be nice to have a good opportunity to bring more people into our Cup family and expand the roster and get more guests? And that's one of the things we'll talk about later. Also, at various points during this year, while I was very busy working as a full-time theater critic for not a full-time salary, I was also having a lot of rude awakenings about, oh, right, I'm still in grad school and I need to finish my dissertation at some point, which continued to repeatedly remind me that, oh, right, I should do less things that aren't that, and the Cup being one of them. So I applaud my two trio cohorts here, that's you two, for keeping things afloat when I wasn't always able to give it my undivided attention or as much attention as I'd usually like to. And I think we put out a lot of really great stuff, lots of great episodes. Something I'm just remembering now is that at the beginning of 2025, we started rethinking some of the branding of the Cup that we had for the longest time since the earliest duet review we did during the pandemic on Sarah Kane's Crave. Mac, you designed the little Instagram thumbnail of the two people with their coffee and some kind of watermarked image. But it occurred to us somewhere along the line is, that was fine.
Have the name.
Yeah, it should tell people what the show is, actually, because it's sort of the same looking image over and over again. So we thought, oh, is there a way that we can maybe redesign this? And that was something that we did this early this year. Yeah, slight tweak, but I think one that's for the better and kind of makes a clearer image, something that people will be able to share around.
In our social media clips. That's proven to be something that we talked about off mic after our wrap up of things we wanted to try to. I mean, at some point we'll get over into the TikTok-y space with our clips, but that's another investment project. Got time. Overall, though, I definitely think like that's been a marked improvement on our social media presence. Is not just having the social media image of, hey, we just released an episode, is actually having the clip in there too that companies can share, and also gets kind of a highlight moment of each of the episodes out there, so they can live in the social media networks as well.
I kind of want to add as well, I feel like this year, because we've been doing this since the pandemic, but I do feel like this year we've gained a bit more agency and like autonomy as a platform, which is kind of neat. And like we are in demand in a way. Like I feel like this was the first year where we did kind of have to rejig our schedules or do double episode weeks or maybe politely decline one project and then pick up with that artist in a different shape or form. And I kind of love that that's happening that way, because I think it's extending what we do even more. We don't just offer a show review. If we can't offer that, let's offer an interview. Let's offer like an artist's debrief on a trajectory of something. Like I feel like we're still keeping in community and we're actually going deeper with that community now.
Agreed. Something I'll even add, Mac, to what you were saying about the Instagram and social media clips that we accompany each episode with. Something that I thought about a lot prior to us doing that is, even though we're like putting out these long form reviews that people are like appreciative for and that we really get into the weeds of the shows, we very rarely got pull quoted on anything we did, because when somebody puts out like a 5-paragraph written review, it's easy to just find the most emphatic statement of praise and put that on a poster or in a social media post. So I think what's kind of cool about these clips is we're saving them the trouble of going through the episode and finding pull quotes, and we're actually getting to select our own pull quotes that because we're saying here's something that you can share that's short that people will watch. Something I also noticed about that's kind of interesting is because we can also, on our page on Instagram, we can see the stats of how many people watch the story or the reels that we post, and it's often way more than how many people watch the actual episode, which makes sense because it's like a short clip that shows up in people's newsfeed. But it's funny to just think how it's not always necessarily proportionate to, wow, we had like this one clip blow up and everybody's watching and sharing and loving, and then it doesn't necessarily lead directly to the episode. But that's such as the way with this type of very niche long form content.
And I think it's allowed our new guests to, a lot of our new guests I'm noticing are sharing on their platforms, right? It's a digestible thing that they can do, and then that opens up a whole nother viewership. And then kind of going to what you're saying too, Ryan, like now people who are actually going to the episode proper to watch in full form, they maybe are watching it from beginning to end, not just a chunk, or they're going there with a purpose. So it's almost like quality over quantity in a way too.
Good point. On that note, now that we've done our generalities, let's get a little more specific with this number crunching. So I have the same categories as last year of all of the stuff that I want to talk about, and it's handy because now we actually have last year's numbers to compare it to of whether or not we
look at Ryan getting so.
Are you going to give us both? Is it going to be like a compare and contrast?
I didn't actually write down both. If somebody wants to pull it up, you can. I did write down how many more or less than last year, and then
Okay,
I would have
that's
to do the
cool.
quick
That's
arithmetic
enough.
in my
That's
head.
That's
Okay.
enough.
Okay.
We're not
Well,
mad people, we're theater people.
this is true. So, last year, we released 52 episodes, which is interesting because, as we all know, there are 52 cards in an average deck of playing cards. No, there's 52 weeks in a year. So, it's because we do try to stick to a mostly weekly output. That was very impressive because we do have some dark weeks where we don't release an episode, but we also have weeks where we have to release 2 episodes based on the timelines of the shows and what we're covering. That it actually evened out to be exactly 52 episodes, and the double weeks balanced out the dark weeks. This year, it certainly felt a lot like we had an awful lot of double weeks. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking as the person who is doing the social media schedule.
Yeah, Mac's like, yes, Ryan.
Yes.
So one might expect that this number is going to be much higher than 52.
I feel like we're going to maximize at 52 again.
Okay, is every category going to be having me sitting on the edge of my seat? What's happening? Tell us.
This year, we released 52 episodes once again, which is weird because it really felt to me like we had way more way more double weeks than dark weeks. Like, I wasn't expecting them to balance out again. I thought for sure this is going to be like 54 or 56, but no. Once again, 52 episodes in a calendar year.
Solid.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
Solid.
Yeah,
we don't plan this, folks. It just happens this way.
No.
These are our genuine reactions.
Okay, any commentary about that before we move on to the next one, or we're
Cool.
content to just now say
No. I'm happy that we. I mean, I'm not saying I want to do even more, but I don't know if we want to say like this year we want to try and hit 60 episodes just to like spite ourselves and like give ourselves.
No, I think what we're doing is working pretty well, where we're trying to, for the most part, make sure we have 1 episode per week. Occasionally, we need dark weeks to give ourselves a break, or during times when there isn't necessarily anything to cover. We always talk about the trove content that we make and bank for the weeks, but as we find more often than not, the things that we store for the trove have to get pushed weeks or months further than intended.
They usually be in the second episode of the week where it's like, hey, we've had this for so long, and in honor of our guest. One of our policies is, I think we said, like, after 4 or 5 weeks, if we haven't released it yet, to make sure that the guests who came on for that wonderful panel discussion aren't being like, did that episode just die in, like, a bin somewhere? Like, what happened to it?
Yeah.
We try and get them out in a relatively good time.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, I feel like this was the first year where we didn't really prioritize filling the trove. I think that was always something that we were very like hyper aware of. Like, we need to just do evergreen episodes that can sit in there. But
I love that we didn't do that because we just kind of moved with what the groove of the year ended up being. Yeah.
And that's not to say that there aren't still trove type episodes that we will do. Basically every
There's
episode.
More that I want to do. I know I've got a few.
And we will get to those.
I want to get to.
And like certainly like the entire screenplay branch that we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes.
The screenplays are definitionally trove content because they're always like pre-existing movies that there's no urgency to get them out. So it's not like we're bringing out a whole panel of people to the cinema to see a movie fresh. Although we could. Maybe that's something to no, it's not cool. Okay. So the main thing that we've done in these 52 episodes are reviews. And last year, we did 94 reviews. And if you're wondering, wait a minute, how are you bending the laws of physics that you can do 94 reviews in only 52 episodes? Well, that's because you must be new here. And we do a large...
Oh, we're counting the Fringe?
Yes. So this category is individual shows that we reviewed. I think I specifically kind of made this like live show reviews. Last year, out of 52 episodes, we covered 94 shows. This year, drumroll please, out of 52 episodes,
we covered 96.
81. And this was a surprise to me, because I was pretty sure we did more this Fringe roundup.
I was about to say, you did more at Fringe this year, Ryan. You didn't step back like you promised.
Yeah, I think I did about roughly the same amount that I did. But I feel like overall, just as a trio, we covered more shows at Fringe. So I think as we get into these other categories moving forward, more non-review content filled other weeks as well, and that...
Cool. That is true. We did do quite a few screenplays.
But it was surprising to me that we did 13 less reviews, individual shows being covered, than last year. But hey, and if you want the more
Fictional.
granular breakdown, that's 34 shows that are like the full episode review devoted to them, and 47 shows covered in our Fringe Roundup. So we still did more shows during Fringe than we did over the course of the rest of the year, but 34 over the year, that's pretty solid for a roughly weekly output. Any last comments about reviews, or shall we move on?
Let's move on.
I would just say, hey, Soul Pepper, Tarragon, Stratford, Shaw, hit us up.
Okay,
we got some room in our schedule for some more.
Here's the thing I'll say about that. Do we have room in our schedule for more? Because we did an awful lot of doubled up review weeks. I am on the invite list for all of those, and it's actually just one publicist who covers a lot of those companies. I'm sure I could probably get us on that list if we want to, but can we manage it? Is the question. Or are we pretty content Jill? With the coverage?
I'm kind of down to clown on both sides. I love that kind of what we do is sometimes we pepper in the bigger brother companies, but a lot of the times it's indie folks too. I feel like the Cup rests in that a bit. Like, I feel like that's become kind of our mandate, is to uplift like smaller shows and maybe artists that are just making their way too. That's not to say like I said, we can't have the big brother things pepper in, but I certainly wouldn't want it to, I hate this word now, but trump what we have been doing.
Supersede what we've been doing.
There we go.
Don't give him the satisfaction of getting his name on everything.
No, sir. All right.
No, I see us on that list, Ryan. We can decline if we need to, if we're double booked at 1 week.
Okay, I will say definitionally we will be double booked if we get on those lists, because I manage the reviews for Next, and often there's like 2 opening nights on the same day, and there's usually like 4 or 5 per week, and it's a lot. There is a whole lot of theater in Toronto that we're not covering, and we would probably boost our numbers pretty well if we were covering more of those mainline Big Brother is watching you. Is that, I don't know, riffing off what Jill was saying.
But also keeping in mind that, I mean, at least maybe I'm speaking for all of us, but the Cup is like a loving accessory to all the things that we just do as well. Like, I personally would say I still always want to be Jill, the actor performer, over doing this. This is just a lovely garnish and accessory and necessary to network and get myself out there. But I certainly wouldn't want us to veer into having this be our main foray.
Considering that we're not making any money doing this, that would be difficult to
not
sustain.
Yet, right?
Yeah.
Yorkshire
well,
Tea's
we did spend 5 minutes really hyping up Yorkshire Tea, but I don't know.
If that pays off, then maybe we can talk about all doing this as our full-time job.
Yes.
So that's it for reviews, and perhaps off mic we can discuss more of those logistics if we so choose. But one of the other big things we do here on the Cup is, of course, our artist interviews. Last year, we did 11 artist interviews. This year, we did 12. We did one more. Haha. And we actually did quite a few artist interviews this year that had more than one interviewee at a time.
Which I'm still including like more than one interview?
I'm counting individual interview episodes, because I'm not splitting it up that way, because I didn't do that last year, and then that would get complicated for comparing these numbers. But yeah, so we did 12 individual interview episodes, and I think this was the first year where it was actually a pretty even split between the 3 of us hosting these interviews.
Nice.
So that's exciting.
Good job, us.
And I have a bunch of interviews in my back pocket for this year already, so excited
that's
to
exciting.
dive into that.
Fun stuff. Yeah, it's something I would even just say for myself. I didn't do that many interviews this year, like relative to other years, in light of what I said at the beginning of the episode about the constraints on my schedule. But 3 of the interviews that I did do were with artistic programmers, which is an interesting kind of new thing here. In fact, we did 4 interviews with artistic programmers, because Jill, you also did one as well. Yeah, and I just thought like that's an interesting new type of interviewee that you don't often like think of as the artist behind things. But yeah, we have a lot of interesting, I thought those were some of the most interesting discussions that I had in a lot of the interview space this year. The people who really get into the nitty gritty of curating festivals and programming. An opinion of programmers is the plural noun, as one of those interviewees happened to say, like a murder of crows. So that's fun. I was happy to welcome all of those programmers into the interviews this year, in addition to all of the lovely artists that we all spoke to. Any last comments about interviews before we move on?
No, I think it was a lot of fun. The fact that I got to do more of them, they're a hoot.
Okay. Yeah. Will an interview be showing up in your favorite episodes you did this year, Mac? Anticipation?
No, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. All the artists I interviewed were absolutely lovely.
They're all
I
great.
enjoyed the conversation that I had with them. But no, the top 5, it was a tough call.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we will get to those shortly. But next, after interviews, we just alluded to it a moment ago, screenplays, which
That's
for
right.
those who are new here, that is the sub-series we do where we bring together people to talk about feature films that are adapted from stage plays. So that's always fun.
It's a
And
great one.
but it's one that, because it is definitionally trove content, it's something that we maybe don't always put the most attention to, or sort of gets short shrifted, or we only make them when we need them. Last year, it was notable that we only did one screenplay. Last year, 2024, in the previous one, we only did one screenplay, which was of August Wilson's Fences, the Denzel Washington, Viola Davis movie. This year, do you want to guess how many we did?
I think we did 4 or 5.
We did
3.
2.
Okay, 2.
Only 2?
Yeah, a moment ago you Max said like we did a lot of screenplays this year.
She's
like,
the Man, and what was the other one?
And the other one was the
Miss
Prime
Jean
Miss.
Brodie.
Yeah,
Right?
and
Oh, you know why I felt like we did more? Because there's one ever elusive screenplay that I keep trying to do.
that you literally
trying to nail it down.
at the end of the part 3 of the Fringe Roundup, Mac, you even said we're gonna do a little Heath Ledger, a little Julia Stiles coming up, like hinting that was like a soon to be coming episode.
I mean, it still is coming up.
It is,
It's
but
still coming up.
as of this moment in early January 2026, it is not yet recorded. So hold the phone on that one. Bless your little nose.
Thank you.
So, yes, so the 2 we did, and
Yeah,
Mac,
the cursed episode of screenplays.
Yes, it's gonna happen.
That
one
and Noises
day.
Off. There are 2 screenplays episodes that are always.
Is Noises Off even cursed? I feel like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern was cursed.
Several times.
Oh, that one's cursed for sure.
Yeah,
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Because that was one we actually like planned and like tried to make happen. Did we ever even try to make Noises Off happen, or is it just one we think of? Oh, okay. So yes, we've had a few cursed episodes.
It's in the list. We've got our little list going in the spreadsheet. We'll get to them someday soon.
Yeah. Or not, because that's how the trove works. But Mac, I want to pause on you for a moment because you hosted both of the screenplays episodes that we did this year, and you brought together more or less the same panel for both of them, and are intending to bring back that same panel for the elusive one that's still to come. Do you want to talk a bit about your view of those screenplays we did this year?
Well, I mean, one of them ends up in my top 5. So,
okay, so hold your thoughts on that.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, I love the screenplay series. I think it's such a great series to do. And I mean, I wish there was more time in the day to do more, just because it's such a great way to cultivate our panelist network of people who then we can then roll out to do more duet reviews with us. Like, that's such a great breeding ground for those wonderful panelists to get their first steps into our cups, as it were. So, I mean, I love doing it. I think it's classic cup material, panelist discussion where we get to do some deep dive combos on some fun topics. And I mean, we had such a great time doing these 2 this year. I mean, we had Hillary, who made her debut on those, and we have Alicia, and we have Sarah. It's always a joy when we get them together, and there's so much fun to do because everybody, especially the films where it's like 10 Things I Hate About You and She's the Man, are films like we grew up with. So getting to see people's reaction of I haven't seen this movie in ages, and getting to kind of deep dive and talk is such a treat. And then like Prime Miss Jean Brodie we'll dive into more later on. But I mean, just in general, like just getting to watch Maggie Smith again is such a treat, and getting to tribute her is so lovely. And you know, there's lots there, and I mean, I think it's just fun and special.
Something I'll even add to mentioning She's the Man. That is a bit of like an offbeat, unconventional choice for screenplays because it's not like the Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare. It is, but I think I like that we included one of those this year and intend to include others because it does broaden the scope of what could count as a screenplay. And even Prime of Miss Jean Brodie is also a good example because realistically, that is an adaptation of a novel. The novel came first, but it's because there was a play in between, and because the playwright was also the screenwriter of the movie, we felt like we could justify it as a screenplay. And so I like this kind of interesting. Well, I tend
malleable.
It's
I
tend
kind
to
of
be
like
the
12
one.
Angry Men of it was a teleplay, then it was a play, and then teleplay, film, play.
Yeah,
So,
which is why I wouldn't count that as
I've
eligible for
tried getting us to
screenplay.
do 12
I
Angry
know.
Men. I'm
It's a
waiting for
great
some theater
movie.
company in Toronto
It's a
to
great
mount it so
movie,
we
but
can finally cover it.
it is essentially a stage adaptation of a film, not the other way around, and I will
Yeah.
continue being a stickler about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the very one that we are in right now, and that is the Cup Editorials.
That's right.
The interesting thing about this one is if we thought the only one screenplay in 2024 was a meager showing, we were very disappointed to get the womp womp. We did 0 editorials in 2024. And editorials tend to also be trove content, so that makes sense. But we knew we were already starting to correct that by virtue of the fact that this New Year episode and the one we did in 2025 was in fact an editorial, so we got the one leg up on it there. And by the end of 2025, we did 3 editorial episodes.
Yeah.
And those 3, therefore, meant we did 3 more than the previous year. So that's fun. One of which was the New Year editorial, the inaugural one of that now
Celebrity
yearly tradition.
casting.
Yes, we did the celebrity casting one that you and I, Mac, discussed at length. And the third one was the one that I did with our friend Dewey Stewart about theater, sitcoms, and SNL, which actually
was an elusive episode that you finally
got. Well, that was
in.
tough. And I also experimented, could that be a round table? I had other people who I reached out to join Dewey and I with it, but just scheduling was too complicated, as we find is always the case with the round tables, which is why the smaller form editorial format has replaced the round tables as, we can get one person in this room and talk about it is a lot easier than a whole bunch. With that episode, I really feel like, and I said a version of this in the Doubt episode, actually, which we might talk more about in a little bit, but that episode that I did with Dewey, while it was fun and I loved talking to Dewey and we had interesting conversations that went in all these different directions, it wasn't quite what I was hoping that episode would be. I had an image in my head of what I wanted to get into, and just by virtue of whatever guest you bring on, the way they sort of interpret the questions and move the conversation, it just didn't shape up to be the thing I expected. It became something else that was interesting and different. I actually do feel like the Doubt episode, the review of Doubt, wound up being closer to the something that I had in mind for this, which is surprising. But this ended up in
your top 5, Ryan?
It very well might. It very well might. But which is just funny to think about because Doubt seems very far from a sitcom or SNL. But what I think that episode, that editorial was really trying to get into is just about the war between different media, what liveness brings to the factors. And I think there's more to say about all of that stuff that neither that editorial nor the impromptu discussion that Doubt prompted really brought to bear. So maybe this coming year there will be some type of follow-up editorial. No promises about that type of thing. Mac, do you want to say anything about the celebrity casting one, or is that something that will come up later? Okay, maybe later.
Maybe later.
And Jill, do you have any comment about any of these episodes? You were on one of them, which was just the New Year. But
I feel like in my going to theater of 2025, which I mentioned earlier, was sometimes I'm screaming from my job, I'm exhausted, but I was very present in networking with artists, in the lobby spaces after shows. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for interviews possibly coming soon. But definitely I got into just casual chats with actors more so this year that I feel like I could turn those into some sort of editorial. I'll just shout out, I just went for coffee with Sebastian Hines, phenomenal performer, associate artistic director of Outside the March Theater. And him and I just talked in and around many different things that I think could stem really awesome editorials. So I'm excited to possibly launch, maybe there's a world in which I interview an artist and then also me and that artist do an editorial down the line. Or I just do an editorial with an artist and peppered into that is a brief little intro of who they are. And then we get into the bigger topic. Excited to maybe explore that. Because I do love that is a tendril of the Cup, the editorials. And I like that it's kind of a free space to unpack themes and topics that I just, in nature of my schedule of 2025, I couldn't do it. So how do I bring it back for me this year is a cool little game plan.
I think you're touching on something interesting about this, Jill, is that because the editorial isn't limited to just us and the Golden Trio, that it is something that we occasionally bring other people from the theater community into because they have an interesting perspective on a certain topic. I've had the thought about there's like individual people who I'm like, oh, you would be great for an editorial on this topic. And then it occurs to me like, oh, should we interview that person? But I'm like, no, I think I'd rather do an editorial with them because the interview is like great for talking about them and their career and their journey and their projects. And there will always do a little bit of that when they introduce themselves in the episode. But sometimes I think the richer discussions, not anything against any of the interviews or the lovely interviewees that we've had, but the best interviews, in my opinion, tend to be the ones where we fixate on some sort of like topic or that we really go back and forth on a thing. And if we could just expand that into a whole episode and just be like, oh, yeah, this doesn't need to just be about you. If you have some thoughts about this thing, I would rather platform you and your thoughts on that subject. So I expect that we'll probably do more types of editorials that at first glance felt like they could have been an interview, but I would rather platform those perspectives than necessarily the person themselves. So we'll see how that shakes out in the coming year. Okay. Yeah. This is the fun one. Guest reviewers. How many people other than the Golden Trio did we have on review episodes reviewing shows? Because last year we had 9. In 2024, I keep saying this last year, but we're in 2026 right now, so that's complicated. In 2024, we had 9 individual people outside of the Golden Trio who were on review episodes talking about shows, of which only one of those 9 was a new guest that year. And that was something in that episode we talked about how, hey, let's maybe try boosting that number in particular, because while it's great that we have the reliable standby people who we bring back over and over again, one of the valuable things about this platform is that we are able to open it up to new people, extend it to the community, and that we're also able to do a service to reviewing by bringing on diverse voices, people who maybe don't consider themselves critics, who wouldn't actually like write a review or even have the opportunity to write a review unless they want to self-publish it on some kind of website or blog. But we'd be like, hey, come see this show with us and we'll just talk about it, and now you are reviewing that show. So this year, when I decided that I can't be on nearly as many episodes, which actually forced the integration of more people into our reviews, we did 13 guest reviewers. That's the total. Many of those were people who aren't necessarily new guests, but of that 13, 9 were new guests.
Nice.
The same number of total.
We hit that goal. We hit that goal. I remember us talking like we want to grab more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was great. We had like so many new interesting people. We had some people who, for example, we had interviewed and then like, hey, you were a great interviewee. Do you want to come review a show? Like Jayden Nasato, Mac is a good example of one who you did that with. We had all kinds of, I brought on a lot of people who are part of my fleet of reviewers at Next. We had people like Divine and Lori who were good examples. I hope I'm not forgetting another important one of that. We had Istvan, who's just another reviewer who has his own blog. And I wanted to invite him for so long to an episode, but it always occurred to me that like, oh, well, he's already seeing every show and he's writing about it on his blog, that like we should open up the guests to people who wouldn't have the opportunities to see these shows comped. But when he told me that Bug was his favorite play of all time, or one of them, who better?
He went back and saw it again.
He did. Wow. That is exciting. I think we did like a really great job of bringing on all kinds of new people. And now many of those will be stable, reliable, standby folks who we can call for anything we want. And I hope we continue.
The cup signal in the sky.
Yeah, but I do hope we continue this into this new year, 2026, of prioritizing bringing on new people all the time, because that is just a great way of expanding our roster for our own benefit and also welcoming people into this and giving them opportunities and giving shows opportunities of getting new, diverse perspectives on the art that we're putting on. Or seeing put on.
And I think it was kind of like a happy accident, because our schedules, all 3 of our schedules were wonky and hectic at a time. So yes, it was a goal for us to get fresh faces on here, but quite literally it was, we have to, because the 3 of us, there was times when even the 2 of the 3 of us were not free. So it was like a happy accident, push, nudge to expand And yeah.
Prior to this year, I feel like we always had the perhaps unspoken policy that if two of us could see a show, we would just do that because logistically it was simpler. This year, I feel like there was a lot more of, especially with now my new schedule of seeing everything for Next or related to my work with Next, that I didn't need to take the comps from the Cup as often. So even if I had somebody else other than me covering a show for Next, I would often go as their +1 and save up that comp to we could bring on a guest. So I think there was just a lot of very perfect storm type factors that led to this uptick in new guests, and I hope that's a trend that we continue moving forward.
Yes.
All right. Last one of the number crunching before we get to our favorites.
Okay.
That is our most popular episodes of the year. Which ones got the most views and listens? Now, I will start this section by saying we didn't really have a big runaway hit episode this year. In the past, we've had like, wow, that episode just like skyrocketed. This was like
Nutcracker.
a pretty... Nutcracker honestly actually isn't even one of our highest viewed episodes anymore. For a long time it was. Yeah, it's like 8th now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for a long time. Yes, that was the one. But yeah, we have quite a few episodes that have really shot off.
I know.
Pause for a second. Ryan, you're pulling these from YouTube, right? Like our views from YouTube. Okay, great. Because, I mean, we are anywhere you listen to your podcast, too. But
Jill, those not that one.
People like seeing our faces, I think, is the takeaway from this, because YouTube numbers tend to be a lot better.
Yes.
So... on YouTube, our highest viewed episode of the year was, perhaps unsurprisingly, a Fringe Roundup episode. Because, of course, the Fringe Roundups, this was the same case last year, too. When you cover upwards of 15 shows in a single episode...
Excluding Fringe, what is the highest episode?
I will say what's interesting this year is because last year, our top 3 highest episodes were all Fringe Roundups, because we did the 3-part. This year, another episode beat one of the Fringe parts.
Whoa.
So, which just, I will say, I think a relevant factor in that is it took us a long time to get our schedules together that we could record part 3 of our Fringe Roundup.
Yes.
So that came out like almost a month after Fringe, and people, I guess, just weren't as invested in Fringe coverage by that point. So I think that hurt the numbers of that episode. But our top 3 episodes of this year were Fringe Part 2, which is the one that just Jill and I did.
Yeah.
Then Fringe
Part 2 always does well.
I don't know. The previous year, it was Part 3 was the big one.
Oh.
It's just it depends on the individual shows we cover. It depends on who happens to share it, who happens to see it, how big the casts of those shows are, and how many of them share it with all of their friends.
True.
So we can't really quantify which part of the Fringe Roundup does the best. But this year it was Part 2, then Part 1. But the one that beat Part 3 was the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. William Finn did pass away this
past
week. And Dora, the Dora winner.
Yes, they won. Dora winner, an indie company, Shifting Ground Collective, won 3 Dora Awards, and the writer of the show died. And they're just like a big, hot, new company, and it was a large cast. A show like that does have a large cast, and we said a lot of nice things about the show. A lot of individual actors shared it, because some of them even extracted clips that we didn't extract, mind you, but they extracted their own clips of us praising them. So it's not surprising that is the episode that, if anything kind of popped off this year, that was the one that got the highest view count. Then after that is Part 3. Then the one that got our number 5 spot here is one that I'm going to talk about pretty soon, so we don't need to say much about it here, is A Public Display of Affection, which is, Jonathan Wilson's solo show at Crow's Theatre, where we had a very special guest on, and I'll talk more about him soon. After that was Romeo Pimp, the review, Mac, that you did, followed by Born Again Crow, the show at Buddies and Native Earth that I did with Alicia. After that was Shrek. And then after that was Monks.
Yes, brothers. Brother stats. Thank you.
Yes, those are the popular episodes this year. So woot woot, go team.
Nice. Okay.
Love it. That's a great lineup of episodes.
Yeah, and it makes sense in hindsight when you kind of break it down with those ones. Those are all episodes that others that I kind of expected to make it that list that came close but fell short were the Three Penny Opera. That was another one with a large, enthusiastic indie cast that got shared a lot, and I thought that was one that I expected to make that short list, but fell just short of it. There were others too, but I think all of those episodes in their own way kind of make sense as one that, to the extent that anything took off this year, I think those were them.
Yeah.
So that's the number crunching portion of this episode. Thank you both for indulging my weird brains wanting to focus on that.
No, it's always good. Yeah. It's kind of like, when you do a little reflection at the top of your year of, what are the goals that I accomplished, what didn't work, but didn't work for a purpose. Yeah. It all fits. It's all on brand.
Exactly.
Lovely. Well, moving on then to the post number crunching portion of this episode. This is where we talk about favorites of all kinds. And I want to begin by asking you two, what were your favorite episodes, not necessarily the shows we covered, but the episodes we put out in 2025? And to keep this somewhat short, I told us let's limit it to no more than 5 picks per person. You don't have to use all 5 picks, but
I used all 5.
Last year we went a little overboard on these because we put out a lot of really great episodes that we want to talk about.
We do put out good episodes.
Mac, you seem eager. Would you like to go first?
Sure, absolutely. I would say my number 1 is one that also made the top 10. Romeo Pimp made the top 10. So clearly the cast was sharing our thoughts on that episode. Jaden was great as a co-host. I mean, we were synapsing, firing off. The play itself was a new Canadian work, which was great to uplift. And I mean, overall, the production itself was just one of those great productions that had so many layers to it, which then led to us interviewing Sophie afterwards, who had directed and production designed that particular piece. And so it's just great that show opened the doors to more great convos, that it wasn't just one episode. And the fact that then the cast was able to reach out to us directly and say, thank you so much for highlighting this element of the show and that element of the show, and talking about this, something nobody else caught, but you did. And so it's our conversations allow is for those type of moments where people can go, oh, great, somebody actually caught this. Yeah. And because we have that back and forth, because we're 2 people, not just one set of eyes, we're 4 at any given duet review episode. So that means double the amount of eyes is great there with that. So yeah, Romeo Pimp opened up a lot of great doors for us to have more discussions in the world of theater.
I love that.
Number 2 was the celebrity casting editorial, just because I think that continues to be a hot topic. And also the fact that, I mean, Ryan, I think you and I could do a sequel editorial that we could do based on...
What about?
Well, just about Broadway in general, because, I mean, the big reports keep coming about how there's only going to be, like, 4 new musicals, potentially, that are going to be considered for Best Musical at the Tonys this coming year, and one of them already closed, which is Queen of Versailles with Kristen Chenoweth, which failed miserably at the box office. And now really I count maybe 3 musicals. So this is gonna be like one of those years in the mid-90s where there was like 2 new shows, and one of them was Sunset Boulevard. I forget what the other musical was that year, but basically it beat the other one. Was kind of like a de facto, like, is that musical really gonna win against Sunset Boulevard and Andrew Lloyd Webber? Probably not. So it's one of those it's gonna be one of those interesting Tony years. So I think, Ryan, when we get the Tony nominations, you and I may have to do like a little editorial on the state of Broadway and kind of the state of commercial for-profit theater there.
Okay,
Merver should be writing some similar things potentially. Number 3 was Ophis, just because once again we love our Transcendence team over there. They're lovely. They always create great shows. This was a new show that Julia was able to conceive of this year, about Medusa, which was a lot of great work to see. I mean, as we talked about in the episode, Kelly Shaw as
love you, Kelly.
Yeah. Like as Medusa was at Transcendent. And then just watching them reconceive that myth in a 2025 lens and reclaiming Medusa's story and making it her story, and it was very interesting to watch. So that I enjoyed, and Graham was great to bring out to that as well. That was a great episode to do with Graham. 25th Putnam Annual County Spelling Bee.
Our most popular single review episode of the year.
And I mean, it was just a great production. We saw it before Wilson passed away. So it's one of those things that came later that Ryan and I went, oh, how timely. That our episode comes out right when that happens. But you and I had just seen the episode on musical on its own. And I mean, that was such a great show. I mean, with Shifting Ground. I mean, just our conversation about that piece and the audience interaction of it. Like, I thought it was just great. And then number 5 was probably Miss Jean Brody. Yes. Our screenplay. We got to deep dive into Maggie Smith, talk about the education system and kind of the abuses that we see in it, and just kind of the way that film addressed some of those elements of the story. And it was also just great revisiting a film that is older, that people probably haven't seen a young Maggie Smith in. I mean, everybody always sees her as Harry Potter or Hook, or, you know, name an older Maggie Smith film. And
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey, Grand Marigold Hotel franchise. There's a few that she appeared in as older Maggie Smith, but it was great going back to a younger Maggie Smith and getting to introduce that film to our panelists and our viewers who didn't always readily have access to seeing some of that older film work of hers, and getting to open the eyes and get to witness a young, vibrant Maggie Smith who at that time would have been a Stratford as well. So, you know, great to kind of honor her, but also have a great convo as well from it. So yeah, those were my 5. Jill?
Nice. Yeah, okay. My 5, there's kind of a theme with all my 5, and I guess I'll just blast off with that before I get granular. The 5 I chose are all duet reviews, and the reason why they popped out to me, and I think it makes sense because the Cup was my safe haven and place for me to crack open my dramaturgical brain and spectatorship. The 5 I chose have really, really rich discussion and just kind of going that step beyond. I feel like we have some episodes that really do a wonderful tango of the text itself mixed with the production, but then also we go farther and we almost do like kind of like video essay vibes with it. And it's just the nature of how the conversation shakes out. Like some productions kind of call for that, some don't, and there's nothing wrong either way. But I feel like that's kind of where I want to put that veil on all 5 of my options. My all-time favorite and the last episode of the year was Wing Chun that I saw with Brie. That is a piece that I'm not going to lie, I will probably bring into these episodes in the years to come to try to rival my number 1, because I truly feel like that piece in such a beautiful, odd way was showing me so many things, just even as like a person. Speaking of Kelly Shaw, I did a lot of somatic embodiment coaching this year that explored sort of duality of life and good and bad and stillness and speed. And I just discovered a lot about self this year alongside my artistry. And so this piece kind of as the last bookend for me, and the practice of Wing Chun really being like stillness and speed and discipline. And then I also, again, right place, right time, I guess, was introduced to this through the movies of like Ip Man a week before I saw this. And I was like, what a coincidence. And then just to share that with Brie Clark, who is a phenomenal dancer, artist, Artversations podcast host, been on the pod with us several times, but she also was going through some stuff too. So to kind of have that extra personal layer come into the space and then have it be that final episode, I don't know, it really was like a hug that is indescribable. And I'm not even getting into the absolute professionalism that was the performance. We're so lucky to have these Chinese performers don our stage. We're seeing co-pros across our city, but this is like a co-pro internationally. So I also thought that was again, smudging outside the borders and something like having like a global connection episode, which is super cool that we're able to reach those things now. So Wing Chun is there for me. Episode 2 and just below was Moonlight Schooner that I had the wonderful experience to unpack with Divine, Ryan's guest that I met prior to the episode. And I felt like I had spoken with Divine for years because I just feel like, again, there was a vulnerability and such a lovely, like, I really do feel like that episode is an essay. Like, I've listened to that episode as a podcast several times because just both Divine and I go to places that uplift that production in other ways that I think even just like a written review wouldn't. It's a lot of performers that were involved in that production that we've highlighted in other episodes too. So it was really cool to be in the spirit of all of those performers in one show. That's number 2. Number 3 is Game of Life, which honestly, it's been so long ago that we saw that show. Like there's been 5,000 lives that I feel like I've lived since we saw that. But what a neat immersive, quirky show that, again, I think there's another theme here of it's Jill reviewing it as artists, but also using the show to kind of highlight stuff that's going on underneath my surface as just Jill. And I just remember, Ryan, like we shared a really cool discussion on that. And that was a show that used multiple media to tell a very human story. So that's Game of Life. It's number 3. Number 4, Brother Mackenzie, Brother Ryan. It is Monks.
It is Monks.
Brother Veronica and Brother Annie, like, keep doing. I randomly in my algorithm, Monks popped up on my Insta algorithm the other day. I don't know why. Maybe just the universe was like, it's been too long since you've counted a lentil.
They've been posting like stuff about like all the end of year lists they made it onto,
Fair,
sort of reflecting on the year of Monks that we've had.
But I was so warm when I saw that pop up on my feed. Such a wonderful show. It's so absurd. It's so quirky. It's so fun. I really encourage like companies these coming years to just like do more stuff like this. That's just like outlandishly stupid funny. I just feel like the world needs more of that. So Monks, if you just remount everywhere, like please do. But I think
also,
theater companies just like do more of this type of theater.
Also, you did a funny thing on that episode where you had like 3 different bowls that you were drinking out of, and that it made for a great visual gag that people listening to it and podcast only would have completely missed. But that was fun. It did make that a fun episode.
It's a show
for
that
mirrors content.
Yeah, it kind of, again, talking about these episodes going a step further. I had some fun, like clowny improv vibes in it, so appreciate Monks always. And then number 5, I'm gonna say, is The Green Line, which Ryan, you and I ended up duet reviewing. Originally, I will say, it was supposed to be me and Emily Cornelius was on that panel with me, but plans had changed and Ryan had seen the show. So Ryan jumped in, and I just feel like we went on like a lovely discussion there. Lovely. The content was heavy and necessary, but it was one of those kind of impromptu moments. But I remember we both came off that episode and we were like, wow, that went really well. That flowed really well. And the episode, I remember, came at a really poignant point in politics that was happening like around that time and still happening.
When is it
too.
not?
Yeah, but it just like, it was a heartbeat episode for me, I think. So yeah, that's episode 5.
Lovely.
Those are my top 5.
All right.
Ryan.
Okay, I will say my number 1 is A Public Display of Affection, which was our second most viewed individual non-Fringe Roundup episode or review of the year. And that was just a very special episode. So I brought on a guest for that, man by the name of Robert Sekulovich, who older than our guests tend to be, but he's somebody who I know. Full disclosure, I didn't say this in the episode, but whatever, it's fine. I'll say it now. That guy's my landlord. I live in his house, and he's 2 floors below me right now as I'm recording this. But he's just like, I know landlords, it's a whole thing. Yes, most landlords are bad. I am very lucky that I have a very good one. Mac, are you technically a landlord? Do you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you might be the first to get executed when the revolution happens, but.
Oh, lucky me.
You've read Tale of Two Cities, you know how this goes. But
now I'm Madame Defarge with my knitting needles.
Okay.
Making my list.
Good job there. But yeah, so I happen to have a very good landlord who likes, renting out his space affordably to artsy people, which is how I'm able to afford living in this neighborhood. And he's just like such a lovely guy who just talks about like whatever. He just like is very friendly. He's willing to like open up, go down anecdotes. And the very first day I met him, he told me about what it was like living through the AIDS epidemic. And it was just like so heartfelt. Like he got so emotional to this complete stranger who just wanted to live in a room in his house. And like it was just like such a touching like experience of that. So then when I saw that Jonathan Wilson had a solo show that was about reflecting on being a queer elder, reflecting on living through that particular moment in history, particularly in Toronto, I'm like, this sounds familiar. I think I know somebody who I'd like to take to this show who might really get something out of it. And I didn't know how that episode would go. I didn't know if Robert would even want to do it, if he would be comfortable being on a podcast. It's not something that he'd ever done before. And he just took to it so well, and it was such a touching, beautiful episode that, like, I can't even really call it a review. It just morphed into something else entirely, something better, in my opinion. And the moment when he took out his Rolodex, the old way that he kept track of phone numbers and addresses of people he knew, and showed how, with a permanent marker, he had crossed off all of the people who he'd lost during that horrible time in history. And you could feel him getting emotional as he's telling it. I'm getting emotional listening to it. It's just, what a beautiful, touching episode. I think it might just be one of my favorite episodes we've ever done, not just this year, but total. Whew. Number 2, another great one with a great guest. We did Tick Tick Boom, the Bowtie Productions, which my good friend Lori Ossip joined me for that one. She might even be coming up to another episode soon in this new year. But yeah, we
rings, door chimes, and she comes.
Indeed. No spoilers. But yes, so Lori and I, we've been friends, actually not even that long. Like, she's somebody who I used to just read her theater blog. I think I even got into this in the episode a bit, that she had a blog called Girl Likes Theater. She still has it, but she kind of put it on pause. She has a baby now, life changes. When I was recruiting for Next, she was somebody I had in my mind that I used to like reading that theater blog. She hasn't written anything for a while. I wonder if she'd be interested in getting back into reviewing and getting paid for it. So I've been working with her for a better part of this year as one of the top, most reliable reviewers on my fleet. And all along, I've known, like, oh, she's just so fun. Has a very conversational demeanor in her writing. And I'm like, I bet she'd be really good on a podcast. We should get her on an episode of The Cup at some point. And Tick Tick Boom was a perfect episode for that. Bless you, Jill.
Bless you.
Because it's one that I knew she already wanted to see. It's one that the run was a little too short for us to review it for Next. We have sort of restrictions for which things we're able to cover in that way. So I'm like, hey, let's get her on this show, and we could just have an awesome conversation about it. And we did, and it went in all kinds of weird, spirally directions. We got really deep into the nitty-gritty of that show. We got deep into the New York City subway system and how one line of dialogue didn't make any sense. And of course, we made that our Instagram clip of the episode because it was just such a funny segment of that conversation. It's funny to me. I feel like that episode didn't quite pop off in the same way that, like, Spelling Bee episode did, for a variety of reasons. But I think one of them is that, I don't mind saying this, whatever, I feel like we might have annoyed the producing company, Bowtie Productions, in this, because we had a segment in that episode where we talked about how, isn't it weird that this isn't a Shifting Ground production because of just how similar these two companies are that seem to be operating with
They should team up and collaborate.
Well, that's what we basically said, but there must be some reason why they haven't done that, considering what
Wait. Shifting bow ties.
Shifting bow ties. There we go. It's right there.
They could be the Jets and the Sharks, Ryan.
You never know. And that's the thing. Like, I know some of them personally. I don't know all of them. There might be beef between these two companies, but they seem to share a lot of personnel. So it's weird if there is beef. I don't know. It just seems
there's beef.
It just seems like such a natural fit for them to join forces, especially when the artistic director of Shifting Ground is playing the lead character in Bowtie's productions. So
that's fine.
But the fact that that episode didn't get the big sharing from the company, and I know they saw it, but they didn't share it around profusely, makes me think that maybe something in that portion of the discussion, because it was a pretty positive discussion of their show, so I can't imagine that they were upset about, like, our discussion of the content. I don't know. If anyone from Bowtie is watching this and wants to explain why you didn't share the episode around, feel free in the comment section. I thought it was a great episode. I had a fun time talking with L'Oreal about
Ryan wants to know.
I'm curious. Can you blame me? All right, moving on to number 3. We alluded to it already, but Doubt surprised me at how much I liked that episode.
Because you doubted its prowess.
Indeed. Well, if you remember, Mac, because you were there, and Jill, you may or may not have watched it. That was an episode that I wasn't even sure if I really wanted to do, but I agreed because when I interviewed Tatum and Lizzie from Ren Theater in advance of their productions of Dangerous Liaisons, we talked about how I have these sort of mixed feelings about the play Doubt. I don't know if we really need to keep doing productions of it. And Tatum in that interview said, well, now you have to come review the show because let's see if we can change your mind. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. But it made for a really interesting discussion, a discussion that I said accomplished something closer to what I thought that SNL editorial that I've been thinking about for over a year didn't quite accomplish in that episode. But I feel
now they have Little Women coming.
Yes, they do. It's a very short run of Little Women, I'll
Mhm.
point out. So TBD if we're able to do an episode on it, but we'll think
It's a
about
little run. Sorry, guys, I'm coming in. The quirkiness is here.
Yeah, but I thought the conversation we had, I felt really weird as we were finishing that episode. I think I kind of said things like at the end in the sign off about like, I'm sorry that we didn't spend more of this episode actually reviewing the show because we went into these spirally conversations about media and doubt and the way that Mac, you approach these things like an 18th century theater critic. And I thought that it made for like a really rich, interesting discussion that I thought like, I feel like this isn't doing what the review is supposed to do. But then as I was re-listening to it, like editing the footage, I'm like, you know what? This is better, maybe. It's not what it's quote unquote supposed to do. It's not what a review is. It's not the label on the box, but something that I think I took away from that. And I kind of think back of the episodes that I really like hold, not just this year, but the ones that I think are some of our best episodes and particularly best reviews. The ones where we really find and lock into what is the most interesting conversation we can have about this. And because more often than not, reviews tend to just be, yeah, we have a bit of a checklist of things to cover. Let's shout out the best actors. Let's shout out the best production elements. And we did some of that in that episode, but the fact that we were able to sustain what I think was a more interesting discussion about the ideas that the very existence of this show just prompts for us. I look back on that as that was one of the more exciting conversations we had on the Cup this year. And it's those types of things that I think I want to actively pursue moving forward. Not to say that every episode has to be a curmudgeonly Ryan rant about why we shouldn't keep producing doubt or whatever.
And you say I'm the curmudgeonly old fuddy-duddy of
I think I'm getting grumpier in my age as I sort of settle into, oh, right, I think I am just a theater critic. I get grumpier as a result. But yeah, I do think we have this very interesting platform that doesn't have to do the normal review stuff or is able to do more than the normal review stuff. And I think I'm looking forward to more opportunities to lean into that because many of the episodes, Jill, that you shouted out on your own list of those duet reviews, I think of those are episodes that, yes, we did that. We found something interesting to talk about beyond just reviewing the show. In Game of Life, we talked about the questions of AI itself that the show itself doesn't even seem like it's trying to prompt, but by using AI as such a prominent feature in that show, it can't help prompting them. And most of the reviews I read of that show got into it a little bit because how could you not, because they're using AI, but we were able to have a much more sustained conversation about the Black Mirror-ness of what that show even was. Yeah. So things like that, I think I'm kind of holding, and the Doubt episode was where that really did click into place for me. So that was number 3. Number 4 is one, it was actually the very first review we did this year, Last Landscape.
Yeah.
Were you thinking, Jill, of that almost making your
that's
list?
Going to make down, I'm going to talk about that down the way,
Ooh,
but yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Last Landscape, because that's like it's a weird show that's like, it's hard to really like get your talons into it. It's really like a mood piece. It's like a Rorschach test that you'll kind of see different things in it depending on what it is. And it would be like a tough show, I think, to write just like a review of without just plundering the material that they put in the program for, here's what the show's actually about. Yeah. But I think us sort of parsing the fact that we had a whole segment in the middle of that where we broke down what even is a landscape, like, and the fact that, oh, that term is more fraught and challenging than we even maybe thought, because it seems obvious, like they're making scenery, of course, that's a landscape, but the fact that we broke down, oh, well, a landscape is actually something that is a term of art crafted by the human perception. It's not the land itself. It's the idea of viewing the land as art, like opened up a whole new avenue of meaning for what that show is. The fact that we could talk about sloths. I love those sloth puppets were so cool. It's just, I just really like, if people snoozed on that episode, go back and listen to that. Go back and listen to all of the episodes that we're shouting out. We're saying these are good episodes, but that episode in particular, I think all of the ones I picked certainly transcend the show themselves. And that's what sort of I keep coming back to and latch onto. Cool. And the last one, my number 5, is actually one that I wasn't on. And it was Bug, Mac, that you did with Istvan. Yes. Because I left that show not sure how I felt about it. I was like, I don't know if I like this. It's definitely good. Like, it was well done. I could recognize the craft. But I left it thinking, like, I don't know, this... I still
think about that teeth pulling scene.
It's visceral. Didn't mean I liked it, is the thing. And like, it's just such a weirdly written play. It's by the same guy who wrote August Osage County, which is very tame by comparison.
I was about to say, I don't remember people in August Osage County.
Yeah.
Like, yes, people like yell and shout and that,
Yes.
and like
break
there's
plates.
incest and break plates.
Yeah.
And,
Struggle
but
for
like,
drugs.
but this show like goes like completely like off the rails in a way that one somehow doesn't. And I left it, and I was like, I feel like this play is just my kind of like, if I had to write a review, thankfully I didn't have to review it, but my one sentence review would have been like, it's weird. It kind of starts like a B-list Tennessee Williams play, like Camino Real or The Rose Tattoo, like just lonely people finding each other and being sad. But then it kind of goes off the rails into this crazy conspiracy thing, and it feels like those two things don't belong in the same play together. And then talking to Istvan outside the theater as we were like walking back to transit together, and then he said a version of this both in our episode and in the review that he also wrote for his own blog. He locked in on a particular line in the show, which is when the main character, Aggie, says that seems like all we ever do is talk about bugs, but I guess I'd rather talk about bugs with you than talk about nothing with nobody, end quote.
Yep.
And he said like that line is the skeleton key for what this whole show is, because at the end of the day, these are just like terribly lonely people and they're so isolated that you can understand how they're able to fall down this conspiratorial rabbit hole, or at least you can understand how Aggie can in what was his name? The Peter, was that Nicholas Eddy's character in it?
I think it is Peter.
Yeah, he's diagnosed as schizophrenic. It's not surprising how he gets himself there, but you can understand through that line how Agnes is able to let herself follow him down that path. And when Istvan said that to me as we were leaving the theater, and then again articulated it so well in our episode, it occurred to me that, okay, from that perspective, it never stops being a B-list Tennessee Williams play, and that's why it works. And recontextualizing the whole play through that line and the way he, as a very astute critic and analyst of theater that he is, was able to kind of shift my focus, made me appreciate the show more. And I would say, yes, it was very good, and I did like it overall. And this is what great criticism does, and something that our platform that's able to really expand and nestle out these ideas in ways that's often hard to in the written word, is that we're really able to have these conversations and change each other's minds. And I wasn't even on the episode having that conversation on the air and having my mind changed in our review, but hearing the speaker of that review talk about it opened my eyes to things that I hadn't considered. And I crave criticism that's able to do that, because I don't want to dislike anything. I would love to be told why I'm wrong when I leave a show with iffy feelings. Doesn't happen often, but I really do cherish the moments like this where it does.
Facts.
Love that.
Well, that was each of our top 5 favorite episodes of the year. Now, an important distinction that must be drawn is just because we like those episodes doesn't mean they were necessarily our favorite shows we saw this year. All of us see shows beyond what we actually cover on this show, because as we mentioned earlier, we only cover a fraction of the theater that's in Toronto. So now we're going to move on to what were your top 5 picks of your favorite theatrical productions that you saw in 2025. Jill, do you want to go first? Are you thumbing up?
I feel like I should go first just because, unfortunately, I did not make it out to any of the festivals this year. I feel
you
like...
saw Fringe. You were part of our Big Brother.
No, well, yes, but I meant, I guess, the Big Brother festivals, the Stratford Festival, the Shaw Festival. And I feel like some of you might have some marriages there. So, first of all, Stratford, Shaw, every company that I didn't get out to this year, I'm sorry, but I will be there this year. This year meaning 2026.
That is this year.
Fave shows. So my list stayed within the Toronto or GTA vibes. So I'm going to say my number 1 show was King Gilgamesh at Soul Pepper. That show just absolutely blew my mind. It was a show that was remounted. I didn't get a chance to see it the first time around, so I was very eager to see it this iteration. It is a show written by both performers. It is a beautiful tango of music and myth and real life relationship, very poignant political message, and the whole audience was on its feet dancing and clapping by the end. So that was a lovely treat. Number 2, I want to shout out King Theatre Company. That's Chloe Rose Flower's new company that we did several episodes on this year. And I want to do a Christmas Carol episode, which, a lot of my things that made my list were the shows that happened at the end of the year.
Recency bias.
There it is. But also I think it's because I came back as the artist too, so I could actually like full throttle appreciate. It was just a very solid performance. Starred Andrew Pararu, who has been on the Cup and is a friend of ours too, and Miranda Wiseman. So it just had like that kind of lovely community already infused, and it was a really solid performance. And definitely go and give it a listen. Emily Cornelius, wonderful friend of mine and a guest on the pod this year too. We kind of deep dive as to why this was a little extra magic and anti-bah humbug. So want to shout out that one. Obviously shouting out Wing Chung, which I've already unpacked and talked about, but I'll just leave it there of holy moly, that piece is going to impact my life. The Last Landscape is on there because Ryan, you kind of already summed up where my
Sloth
thoughts
puppets.
were. Definitely the Sloth Puppets. That also was, I think, the first show I saw coming back into life because I had COVID at the top of 2025. And I remember I still had a bit of like post-COVID fog brain. So watching that show with that cranial lens was really interesting too. Because I feel like it was absurd. And it was like a wonderful, very like artiste explosion back into spectatorship, which was cool. And then I think just because I didn't really expand on Winchun, I do want to mention Shrek. Shrek was a really fun time, a super fun production. Again, some friends that were part of the cast. That's a lovely little nudge there, but I just thought it was super solid, fun. The set was new and different. It was a truncated version of the musical, and I still think it really hit the mark, and it was a super fun time, and I love YPT, so those are my fave shows.
Ooh,
Mac, Ryan, who wants to go?
Mac, you go.
I'll go. I'll talk about one that I'm sure Ryan maybe made your list as well.
Maybe.
It's a little story about a girl from Avonlea. It is the Stratford Festival production of Anne of Green Gables.
See, Mac, you could have done a really funny thing there where you said it was a show I saw at Stratford about an optimistic redheaded orphan who,
it's not Annie.
whose name starts with an A and an N and another N. But what's the next letter?
E.
And with an E. Not
Did
N.
you plan this, Ryan? What's happening here?
This was the talk of the Stratford Festival this year. They had two optimistic redheaded orphans with very similar...
That is true. They did.
But one was objectively better than the other, and that's the one you want to talk about.
Nice.
Yes, it was.
No, I just feel like that scripted, that was really fluid. Good job, guys.
Yes.
Ryan, keep it up. Mac, continue.
Anne of Green Gables. This was a piece that I took my aunt to see, as that is her favorite musical, is Anne of Green Gables, and then also it's her favorite book, so she was absolutely gung-ho to go see it. And this was a new adaptation. It's Kat, right? Kat
Sandler.
Kat Sandler,
who wrote it, who adapted it. And I had said to Ron, I'm like, how close are we to the book? And Ryan, because I was like, if they don't kill Matthew and make me cry, then this is not Anne of Green Gables. And I'm proud to say
Matthew is dead.
He did. Point being is, this was a very good adaptation that actually does kill Matthew, that packs the punch, and the whole cast was solid and wonderful. Special shout out to Tim, who we've had on the Cup previously with his wonderful partner Irene. He was a wonderful Matthew, and I'm extra excited to see his Gandalf in The Hobbit this coming season, because he was just such a sweet Matthew that when he bites it at the end was just so heartbreaking. And also Mevis Rachel, another, just such a great energy she brought to the show. It was just a great cast all around. And then they have that generational change in the middle there that just totally was a wonderful hide for the show, because that's not in the promotional material. So it was just great. I thoroughly enjoyed Anne of Green Gables, and the fact my aunt loved it as well. Even the Change to Modern Day, that was great too. So yeah, Anne of Green Gables, that was my number one. And then number two is one we covered for Fringe, and it's one Ryan had some mixed feelings about, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm still waiting for my cast album.
So
it is of course Iris Says Goodbye, which is a wonderful new show from the same team that did Killing Game Time, the previous Fringe. And so they hit it out of the park once again, and the songs there. And I love the Choose Your Own Adventure stuff, and the fact they were able to do that in a musical format and have all these different songs written, and people could come and see at different times and get different ideas of songs that are in the show and different lives and endings. It was just such a great concept for a show, and I am hoping and praying that some theater company picks this show up and brings it somewhere else, because it needs to be given more life as part of the Canadian theater culture, which I've ranted about many times about how we need to do better on that front. That was part of my end of Fringe rant that I do every year for Fringe. And once again, I'm still waiting to see somebody program Iris Says Goodbye. So theater companies, get on that. Come on, let's go. Then, of course, one I've talked about already, but that's Ophis by Transcendence. I love a good moving piece, actually tells the story, it reconceptualizes it. The cast was great. Not gonna go back down the road again, but just once again, it was a highlight piece of the year that still I think about now. And this is one that I don't know, Ron, if I'm allowed to count it, but I'm counting it anyway. But I went to the Cineplex and I saw the Pro Shop production of Merrily We Roll Along, starring Lindsay Mendez, Jonathan Groff, and Daniel Radcliffe. And that was superb. That was a piece of theater that Maria Friedman directed, and she's an Olivier, now a Tony-winning artist in her own right. And this was one of the Sondheim musicals that is notorious for, first of all, blowing up Hal Pearts and Stephen Sondheim's relationship, but then also becoming the one piece that everybody was like, we gotta fix Merrily We Roll Along. We know we can make it work. And Maria did. And she didn't cut anything really besides like one song I could find that was cut when I was watching it. But like overall, the show was so well done. It's one of those stories that's told backwards, so getting to watch each moment in time where you see something planted that comes back later. And it just builds. It has such a great, beautiful build in the story to it. And it was such a heartbreaking story to watch this friendship at the beginning already fall apart. And then as you watch the story go, you see like how it falls apart and how they were so together at the beginning. And the trio of Lindsay and Daniel and Jonathan were so amazing to watch together that by the time you get to the end with them sitting on the roof watching the shooting stars and Halley's Comet, it's just so beautiful. I thought it was such a beautiful, well-conceived piece. So nice. I'm hoping they release it so I can buy a copy, and then who knows, maybe we'll do a panel discussion on it. My friend had never seen the show and knew nothing really of Sondheim, and he really turned to me and went, "Oh my God, the layers of this scene." And I went, "The power of Stephen Sondheim strikes again." That man.
Let me ask you this. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
How did you feel about the close-ups? The extreme close-ups on everyone's face. That was a big talking point when it came out. Okay.
I didn't mind it at all. I mean, once again, this is a play about the unseen reactions where people are so busy in their own bubble that they miss the little moments of people, of Mary reacting to things. Like there's the moment where Frank has gotten back from his trip, and there's a comment that Gussie, who's really kind of the villain of the piece. But even then, I wouldn't call her a villain because there's more to her.
You just did.
Back in time. But she does play a villain.
I'm kidding. I'm just joshing. It's fine.
So she's not the greatest character. But point being is she does have complexity to her in her villainy. That being said, she makes a comment that nobody catches because Mary's just a little bit upstaged. But the editor made the choice to have a close-up on Mary. So you really got to see the hurt and the pain of that comment. It was so great. So that's the joy of doing a pro shot, is because it's so easy just to do a proscenium, park the camera, and just let it roll. And part of that is fun to see the show as Broadway would have seen it. But if you have the opportunity to then do a pro shot, having the close-ups was a really neat element to the piece where it allowed you to get up close with the actors and really get to watch their reactions as things are slowly but surely falling apart or having a moment of triumph. So it was great. My number 5 is another Sondheim one, but this one was done by Talk is Free, that then went to the Shaw Festival, and it is The Frogs, which I know is Ryan's favorite of the Sondheim
It's fine. I didn't get to see this production. I'm sure it was a good production of it.
This was a great production in the sense that I've never been a big fan of The Frogs. It was never a Sondheim musical where I went, "Oh my God, that's my number 5."
It's nobody's favorite.
But I will say it went from the very bottom of my Sondheim list to now being up in the middle. It's not a perfect Sondheim musical, but I love the question it has. about, is it better to bring back, the witty writer or the writer with the soul that can inspire people that way?
That question comes from Aristophanes, just saying.
Yes. Well, once again, Sondheim explores it between Shaw and Shakespeare, which is a great rivalry that, I'd love now to see Stratford do the frog just despite Shaw doing the frogs. Just have some fun there. Like, there are some shows where you see theater companies try and do them, and it's like, you tried, it's still not a great piece. It still needs to be left on the shelf, but hey, good job for giving it a go. And the frogs could absolutely fall into that camp. I mean, even Sondheim didn't love the frogs. He was like, can I please wash my hands of this piece? In the pool I staged it in. And he did stage in the pool. That's at the Yale.
Yeah.
That's a great bit of trivia there. But Talk is Free in our caddy. Once again, I don't know how he does it, that man, but he'll find a play that is maybe a bit rough, maybe not the most perfect bit of material, but he'll find a director, he'll find a team, and they'll find a way to make it a compelling piece of theater where you come away going, maybe it's not the best material, maybe it's not, the greatest bit of material that a theater company can work with, but Talk is Free did something with it that made me go, wow, the frogs actually has something to say, and it's interesting. Mm-hmm. And I hope it gets remounted here in Toronto after going to Barrie and Shaw, because it was such limited runs both times that I think Talk is Free could remount it. You never know. But yeah,
they're doing a different Sondheim instead.
They are, which will make another list. You'll find out. There we go. Those are my top 5. Ryan, take us home. What were your top 5?
Okay, well, I've done my top 5 and my top 10 list in other platforms showing up on the screen right now. I was on Stageworthy's Year in Review. Sure. I wrote a top 10 list for Next. I made a very complicated Reddit post where I synthesized all of the top 10 lists from every critic to develop a numerical score thing. So I'm just going to say mine quickly, and you can read or listen to my thoughts elsewhere if you want more of it. But my top 5 are number 1, of course, Anne of Green Gables, best thing I saw all year. Mm-hmm. Then Monks is my number 2, Then Kim's Convenience at Soul Pepper. Mm-hmm. Then Mahabharata, Why Not Theater in association with Can Stage. Mm-hmm. And then Measure for Measure, the House and Body production done in association with Crow's Theater. Jill, are you about to edit your list in real time?
I gotta slide that one in.
What do you replace? Which one are you cutting from your list to make room for it? Which one do you have to destroy the dreams of by
Ryan? Also, I already cheated by kind of doing 6-ish.
But you did? I didn't even notice that in the count.
Yeah. But
so now you have to cut 2 is what you're saying.
No. I'll substitute it, and then I think The Last Landscape will get honorable mention, because also The Last Landscape had like half of my brain landscape. It wasn't fully formed, like I was foggy brained. So
gotcha. Also, it's funny to me, I didn't say this while you were going through your list, but Jill, you liked the OG regular Christmas Carol more than Invasion Christmas Carol by the sound of your list.
Yeah, I mean, both very, very different, obviously, takes on things. I just think, like, it takes a lot for me to absolutely adore an OG iteration of anything nowadays. Like, whether you're doing, like, a Shakespeare in Pumpkin Pants or, like,
that just was my argument at the Doubt episode.
Yeah, or, like, a solid production of Christmas Carol as the example. So I think when something like that goes the traditional route and it sticks with me, I have to elevate it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I regret that I didn't get to see that King Theater production, but if you recall, I said in our Invasion Christmas Carol episode is that I don't think I ever want to see a regular Christmas Carol again after seeing this. So it is quite surprising. Again, kudos to this scrappy company in the North. All right, so that's our lists.
Wait, now, Ryan, did you not have more for your list?
No, that was 5.
I shot through them with no descriptions just because I've described them elsewhere, but you can find.
I feel like 5.
I just shot through. I could go to 10. My number 6 was Whites, which I liked more than most people. My number 7. No, we don't need to go through my whole list, but they exist elsewhere.
Nice.
Next up, what shows are you most looking forward to seeing in
there's a
this
few good
year,
ones coming.
2026, and we're going to limit these to 3 only.
Go.
I'm so excited, and I think I might want to see this show like a billion times because it stars Dan Musso and Bahia Watson. Summer and Smoke. It's also one of my fave Tennessee Williams too. And I
Is
just
it?
love both of these performers so much. So like I actually got like giddy when I saw this was one of the questions Ryan prepared, because I'm like, ooh, how many times will Jill see this? I saw 6 3 times, so we'll see if 6 and Summer and Smoke might have a little rivalry there. So sorry, I had to jump on that because I'm very excited to see that show. And then my other 2 are a little bit more commercial based, I think, but I'm really excited to see The Outsiders when it comes. I just heard super lovely things for it.
The rain fight scene is
quite
stunning.
The movement. That novel is one we all probably read in school or were exposed to it in school, and like
I did not.
I still think about it, like, but in weird pockets, like, and yeah, it's
Stay gold, Pony Boy.
Stay gold, Pony Boy. Yeah. And then I'm excited to see A Doll's House at Can Stage. It's coming up hot after the release of this episode. It's got a star-studded cast: Jamie Robinson, Haley Gillis, David Collins, who we haven't seen tread the Toronto boards in a while because usually Stratford gobbles him up. So excited to kind of see, again, a bunch of awesome performers under one roof in an iconic show. And like Ibsen, we love a good Ibsen. I'm excited for these modern dramas that are just going to hit us in the face. Like, please.
Yeah. Nice. That's your 3. Amazing.
It's Christmas. Okay.
My top 3. One I know that Ryan is covering, but I may get out to see too. I probably will, because I need to raise a glass to the ladies who lunch. It is Company with Talk is Free, because Talk is Free and Sondheim, they're like a magical match. I know Toronto Star just did a whole article about how Sondheim and Talk is Free just keep going hand in hand because they did their door-winning production of Sweeney Todd, and they did Assassins, which was a big door-winning show years ago that I would love to see our county revive at some point.
Yes,
because
please.
It's such a timely piece. This is one of those shows that I am very excited because Company is in my top 3 of my favorite Sondheim shows. And Ron, I know it's not your favorite Sondheim show, so I'm extra excited to hear
spoilers
your
for
thoughts.
the review we haven't done yet.
I hope Talk is Free proves you wrong.
I would love if they do. I would love to see in that show what everybody else sees in it.
Ron wants to be alive.
I want to hear less annoying white guys sing that song at karaoke is what I would like.
Right, it's like my number 1 karaoke
yes,
song.
it is for every white musical theater guy.
Listen, it's a great song. And I'm getting closer to 35 and still single, so it's getting eerily scary.
So you're going to hit on all of your married friends.
Well, I know Bobby actually hits on his married friends. We can debate
What are you talking about? She says, I'm not going to get married to what's his name, and he's like, marry me.
Okay, kids.
Okay,
has
save
to
it for
be the episode where Jill referees. I'm blowing my whistle. Keep it coming. Keep it going.
All right. My next one is 10 Days in the Madhouse, which is a new opera that's coming to Toronto from the US, and that is by
So it's a production. It's part of the Luminato Festival.
There we go.
And I think Canadian Opera Company, I think Tapestry Opera is also. So it's a whole. It's a big
Opera Philadelphia. I've heard it's already come through my grapevine of people who are excited for this, just because the story is about a woman who goes undercover, the story of a real woman of Nellie Bly, who's an American who went undercover in a women's asylum. So the story itself is just captivating me already, that I want to see how it plays out. And I think we need to revisit the opera world. I think it gets a bit of an old dusty rap, but I think there's a way we can do it. I'm just hoping it doesn't become like Brokeback Mountain, like a non-melodic slog of a piece we did for that.
The one bad opera you saw and didn't like, hold all modern opera to that standard.
Yes. I mean, God, that's probably Ryan. I would say out of our over 200 episodes of shows we've talked about, that is by far the one show where I wish I could get my time back watching that musical.
And you didn't even have to pay to see it because it's on a streaming service that we were
already
subscribed to.
Because I
yeah, like we paid for the stream, but we got our money's worth out of that for other reasons. But
you
didn't have to pay the opera ticket prices at the Met or wherever it was to see that.
That was a waste of money. But this opera, I'm excited to hear and see. So that is one. Also, another one that I'm looking forward to seeing is an Intervention. That is Downstage Theatre Company, and it stars Jaden, who has been on our panels before, so she will be appearing in it. And and reading up on the plot of it, it's a two-hander. They debate politics and everything in the modern day, and I'm excited to see that take place. I've heard it can be a very heavy play. Some people love it, some people hate it. So it's definitely a play that is divisive. And so I'm excited to see it as well, just to see how we shake it up. Because I know Jada does really well with dark, dramatic things. So I know that this will be a fun piece for her to sink her teeth into. And so I love supporting our panelists where we can. And so, yeah, this will definitely be an interesting piece that I'll be keeping an eye out for and hopefully getting into the theater to see, depending on my February schedule. But those are my three.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Okay. Finish it off. I'll also say, similar to how I have top 10 lists everywhere all over the internet, I am quite literally in the middle. Like today was writing a top 12 list article of most anticipated shows of the year. So that will probably come out before this episode goes live, but I'm not yet finished writing it at time of this recording. So that's fun.
So give us 1/4 of it right now.
Yes, will do. We've talked about Shifting Ground a few times over the course of this episode. They have a production of the Canadian musical, The Drowsy Chaperone, coming up this year.
Good.
Yes.
The Drowsy Chaperone.
The Drowsy Chaperone is one of the shows that I've listened to the album before. I've never seen it live. I think the last time we had a production of it in Toronto was 2017. I was just looking this up. And that was like a no strings theater renting Tarragon. It wasn't even like a big production. We haven't had like a Mervish one since I want to say like 2007. Years with
2008, if I remember correctly,
okay,
according to my Drowsy Chaperone notes, because we did it on the podcast.
There you go. So 2008 was the last time we had like a big major production of it here. Now Shifting Ground, with their indie budgets and resources, aren't going to necessarily be that kind of big, exuberant production. But I love the work they do. I love how scrappy and indie it feels.
They still do a really good job with this. I mean, it's meant to be a schlocky musical, so you don't have to have a big set to do it. It's meant to be a bit, hokey because it's an older musical. So you can have some fun with the set and production design of it. I mean, Ryan, I think you make a great man in chair.
I don't think I need to be in a musical, but
that's on my 2027 list, is to get Ryan in a musical playing man in chair.
That nobody needs to hear me sing. But what I will say about this is that Shifting Ground has been now operating for several years. They're a new company. They swept the Doras in this last year. And
just to ride the cyclone.
Yeah, so their first three productions were all American musicals, established, well-known ones: Ordinary Days, Merrily We Roll Along, and Spelling Bee, of course. Yep. Now, this is the first time that they announce an actual season of multiple shows being announced all at once, and it's notable that that whole season is Canadian musicals. Pre-established Canadian musicals. This isn't necessarily a new works incubator, but Ride the Cyclone, the cult classic from Alberta Canadian musical, and now Drowsy Chaperone. I do think that there is this real elbows up commitment to honoring our canon, and maybe the rights to Come From Away are a little expensive, so that would be the other one that they
I mean, they are available for shows can now mounting. I know Vancouver, I think a theater company in Vancouver just did a Broadway style, like their own direction for the show, and it got great reviews. But that's one of those ones where I guarantee the rights for Come From Away are very high, and it also was just in Toronto. It had a very lengthy, healthy run. So
next one that I would like to shout out is from the good folks at Shakespeare Bashed, Troilus and Cressida.
Yes. They just posted a cast list of that too.
They
it's
did.
Massive.
Right. Yeah. As is often the case, they have a lot of their stable roster of usual people coming back and other new people. I've always liked Bashed's work. I sometimes have mixed feelings about it. I did not love The Merchant of Venice for various personal reasons. But Troilus and Cressida is a Shakespeare show I've never seen performed. I've read it, but
is it your favorite show, Ryan?
It's not.
Shakespeare canon?
It's not, but I would love to see a production of it and actually see it up on its feet, make up my mind about it. And something I just kind of admire the hell of about Bashed, like this obviously isn't an official mandate by any means, but it seems like they make a lot of their programming decisions by which one hasn't Stratford done in a while.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
When was the last time Stratford even did Troilus and Cressida?
I'm sure we could look this up, but it's been
It's been a hot minute.
Not in my life of going to Stratford. So
that is true. That is true.
Yeah. And like I understand why
artistic director will mount it.
Well, if you kind of think about the last
season.
If you think about the last few seasons of Stratford, they've done a lot of the high school, quote unquote, ones.
Yeah.
We've had a Hamlet recently. We were having an Othello this coming season. We've just had a Mackers. We've had Romeo and Juliet, 12th Night. So they're going to have to start scraping some of the bottom of the barrel. They did Lear last season or 2 seasons
Bring
ago.
back Titus.
And so, if Jonathan Church is watching this and wants some ideas from us about how we should program his first season at Stratford,
Cast as Lavinia.
Cheerio, Governor.
Wow. Yeah. What a visceral role to come into the festival with. Yeah.
Okay. So so I am excited to finally see a production of Troilus and Cressida, and I think Bashed is the company to do it. I'm really looking forward to that. And the last one that I want to shout out is a show we know basically nothing about, except for who it's by. And that is Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, because the Shaw Festival is doing Untitled Brandon Jacobs Jenkins project that he's going to workshop at the Shaw Festival over the course of the summer. Shaw has consistently been one of Southern Ontario's greatest interpreters of BJJ's works. They did Octoroon, they did Everybody. So, and he's obviously very hot right now. He just got the Pulitzer last year for his show Purpose, that I can bet we're going to get a Toronto production of probably within the next couple of years, because the Pulitzer list, and especially the Black authors on it, tend to make their way to Toronto pretty quickly. And I just think he is one of the most gifted, talented, brilliant playwrights working in America today. And we are very lucky to get so many of his works on our Toronto stages. And the fact that the Shaw Festival is doing a total crapshoot on something that we don't know anything about, it doesn't even have a name yet. I wonder if it'll have a name by the time it opens, but it might just be this untitled project, and the clout of the playwright will do the selling for us. And of any playwright to be able to get me excited for a show that we know nothing about, he is the one right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Octoroon still sits with me, and I saw that when I was still in theater school, which I'm dating myself, but was years ago. And shout out to Andre Sills, also been on one of the OG interviewees on the Cup. But he was in an Octoroon cast all those years ago. Yes. He's not going to be in this one because he's at Stratford this season.
That's right. He's playing
Andre's
he goes back and forth.
We love it.
He has to choose which cricket team to play for each year.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's a 2026 goal of mine. I mean, to
join
make
the cricket
it to
team.
the festival, but to absolutely not only join the cricket team of wherever I'm at, but also to win. So, Emilio, everyone listening, get me on the team.
Put me in, coach.
Emilio will do it.
So those are my picks. The last question that I have here is, as we wrap up this reflection and look ahead to the year to come, is there anything other than particular shows like the ones we've just named that you're looking forward to and or would like to see happen in Cup of Hemlock Theatre's coverage for 2026?
Okay,
Jill,
I'll kick us off.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Kick it off.
Oddly enough, I feel like it gurgitated during this episode is kind of doing a bit of an interview editorial melange. I think I would love to grab some fresh faces into the editorial sphere of things, and then just allow a bit of an intro platform to let our viewers know who this artist is and why they are here to partake in this editorial discussion possibly, but then just jump in to themes and topics that we can just bring in. So I like that kind of, not still having the interview strand for sure, but erasing that sort of unannounced rule of we need to interview an artist before they're kind of coming into something a bit more in depth and obscure, as the editorials sometimes can be. Possibly want to explore that. And I also just I know we're all, the three of us, we have our lives, we all have everything going on, but I really would like to bring back some roundtable discussions, whether that is through a screened plays or dusting off the subscriptions of Broadway HD and Stratfest and National Theater at home. Yeah, just getting a kind of beefier panels back in the mix a little bit, because I think there's beauty when you go back into those episodes of having more than just two brains on something. So I kind of will just leave it at that. I think we're doing, like I said, a really good job of keeping this thing alive and afloat. And I think the three of us keep doing that, just pivoting and volleying. And I guess I'll use this platform as a time to say the Golden Trio truly is golden. I feel like we do a really good job, the three of us, of balancing ourselves and balancing our content and taking the torch where we need it. This is a solid team. So thanks, guys. I love that the Cup still exists.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
Mac?
Okay, goals for the year. I mean, Ryan, we did it once, and I would love to do it again. Which is
we've already reviewed Doubt twice, Mac.
Yeah,
twice.
Which is going through an epised without arguing with each other. Is that
oh
it?
God, no, that's never.
No, we love arguing. This is our
that's
friendship.
never gonna happen. I'd love for us to bring back the review roundup for Stratford, because there's a lot of shows, especially this year being Anthony's last season. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting shows at the festival, and from The Hobbit to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
That's not it, but the Italian Day show by the great
Italian Day show. There's a St. James Bible show. There's a few in there, and I mean, at first I was like The Tempest, but after talking with Bridget and hearing some of the early ideas and concepts that Anthony's going to be exploring,
of course he was going to do The Tempest as his swan song. Of course he was going to do. He did it already. Not that long ago, and of course he was going to do it again.
Which was actually Bridget's idea originally, to get Martha Henry for that one. That was her suggestion. So go Bridget. But that being said, I would love for us to go back and do a festival roundup for Stratford, and then also try and get out to do maybe a roundup of some Shaw shows, because I feel Shaw kind of doesn't get love. I mean, they need to do a better job with their coach bus situation, because Stratford is so accessible because of the coach bus, where you can go basically every weekend and see some shows, and Shaw just doesn't do that.
They need to get the coach bus running, one, every day that there are shows like Stratford does, and two, they need to have a nighttime bus. Yeah, if you are reliant on the coach, you can only see matinees, and that's so frustrating.
Yes. So I would love for Shaw to fix that, so we can cover them hopefully this year a little bit more. So we will see. I'm also manifesting. I'm hoping. I know we've tried to get Anthony on in the past for an interview, but as it is his final season,
he'll be less busy soon.
He will be less busy soon. I know that he'll be traveling more after his tenure, but maybe after the festival's open, he'll have a spare minute in the fall or something where we can maybe snag him for a send-off interview and try and get him on. Because we've covered a lot of Stratford shows over the years and several of his productions as well. So it'd be great to kind of get him on just to have some talk about just his time at Stratford. And because I mean, he's leaving the Stratford Festival in a strong shape, considering what he got stuck with the pandemic and everything, and having to get the wheels back on and running and still keep the festival running even during a pandemic I'm sure Nani's thinking. I feel like that'd be a great convo to have with him about that. I do want to get us that 10 Things I Hate About You episode. That is like
manifest it. You will.
I'm manifesting we're gonna get that one in. I feel like there's a few more. Like I love to do the Next to Normal Pro Shot that's on National Theatre. That was done with Cassie Levy as Diana. That's like a great musical, a Pulitzer-winning musical actually. That's one where I would love for us to cover that pro shot at some point. I would love for us to do a few more pro shots. Like, there's so many great shows that I see advertised that come on the Pro Shot channels, and we just, because we're doing so many duet reviews now, trying to get more Pro Shots, and it's tricky, but I would love for us to try and get a few more in there. I mean, we got through 2 screenplays this year.
I think that's a good marriage of what Jill was saying about getting the larger panel episodes. The Pro Shots are the ones that make that easier, because it's not doesn't have to be the quick turnaround of seeing the thing live.
Exactly. Yep. So, I mean, hopefully we can get those, a few of those lined up. My goal is if we can get 3, like Pro Shot reviews in the tank, that would be great for this season. The 4th and then a 4th one being 10 Things I Hate About You, because I'm not counting that.
That's not counting that as a 3.
No,
okay.
10 Things I Hate About You.
It's its own thing.
It's its own thing that's going to get done. God damn it. We will get it in.
We'll talk about it 10 times and then it's going to exist.
Exactly. And then also just keep growing the panels network. I mean, we have people who we've had on, like our panel episodes, and then we've tried to get them on for some duet reviews and just didn't have, their schedules just weren't available. That I know it's like, hey, we would love to get Hillary to come out and do an episode with us for a duet review. So hopefully getting some of our other panelists out on the duet review circuit and growing that, continue to grow that network as well. That'd be great. Totally. So yeah, that's that. Nice. Ryan, what about you?
Well, there's small individial things that I could talk about.
You want us to review the Amadeus BBC production that's getting panned?
Oh, I don't think we should.
That'll be under Nicholas Nickleby.
I've had an idea for a new Nicholas Nickleby type thing we could do for a while, but let's maybe talk about that off mic. Okay, so yeah, there are like individual things that like people I know I do want to maybe try to interview this year, ideas for editorials I have. Of course, there's shows that I'm excited that hopefully we'll cover. But the thing that I want to use this space to talk about above all is that before we meet again for next year's New Year episode, unless we stop doing the Cup for some reason, we will have our episode 300.
Yeah, like, what are we gonna do for that, Ryan?
That's
we did Hamilton for 200.
Well, this is the thing, and this is how I would like us to end this episode. Let's come to no conclusions right now. But if we would like to jam sesh about what would be something meaningful we could do for our 300th. I know when we did our Hamilton episode, we facetiously said that we would do it on Music Man just because we all agreed that we like Music Man, but that's silly. That's what is the point of that?
We got to about the Matthew Broderick horrible film adaptation. That was from here in Canada, actually. So
that's kind of meaningful.
Yeah.
So maybe we could do that. That sounds like fun. I like the Music Man. I like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
I have an idea of maybe like an editorial, but it's the three of us, and we discuss what it is like to be a podcast host of a theater podcast. And like we can talk about obviously like the strands, which I feel like we kind of do, but then we can also we can go into the nitty gritty of like the editing process, of like the behind the curtains vibe. We can totally pull back the curtain on when we have episodes where our brains go to slosh, or we hold the space for each other. And I don't know, we could crack open the cup.
That's something. We could do something about the cup. That's kind of similar to what we did for our 100th episode, which was different. That was like reflecting on the road to 100, but had a lot of that peek behind the curtain content in it.
I would love for our 300th, and the way we'd have to coordinate it is make it a round table, but we would do it where we would set a date, and we could invite all our guest panelists that we've had.
That's fun.
And do an episode where we honor them, and we can talk to all of them and just go over 300 episodes we have.
In a single Zoom room, all of these people at once?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of fun.
And then basically we can have like a big group discussion just about the cup, their time on the cup, anything they want to say. But the cup will talk about all of them as wonderful panelists. And just kind of have a big like community, a cup community episode.
Well, and
we try to get as many faces on as possible.
Like they could like interview us in a way too,
if they wanted to.
If they want to,
yeah.
But I also really want to honor them because they.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying, like if they want to voice any things, right? Like we're always saying we want to do this or we think that. If they have some critique for us. Like open to suggestions. We always say pop in the comments, but now we're saying pop in the Zoom room.
That's right. So I mean, I would love for us to do a big round table with all with as many guest panelists as we can. That's Andrew, Alicia, Hillary, Sarah, Katie.
Extend the invite to all of them and see who showed. They don't all have to show up, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah, which was like a Saturday where like we know, like a Saturday morning where we know most people will be around and available. And then we'll just kind of get them in the room. We'll just have like a nice open discussion, 300th, just kind of a cup symposium where we all can just chat.
That's an idea.
Like a drop-in party kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something I will say is that if we keep up the regularity of the episodes coming out when they do, accounting for some dark weeks, some double weeks, it's looking like 300th episode might actually fall around the fringe time. In terms of just how that sequence. Now, if we happen to do more double weeks, more dark weeks, less dark weeks, then that might not be the case. But just at the rate we're going, that's kind of where it's looking like it's going to land.
Interesting.
I don't know if a fringe roundup, something we do every year, is special enough to constitute the 100th episode. And it's... Jill?
No, keep going. Sorry. And then...
Well, my one thought about that is that's dangerous to pick a timing specific episode to be the 300th, because then if things do have to shift, then we're like, this was our 300th episode, but like, oh no, now we have to release it as like $2.99. But
yeah,
I feel like I hear you, but with the intention, this is another option because it's hitting in that July marker, which is kind of like halfway through the year of 2026. We could do a little sister episode of this editorial where it's like we're halfway through the year. Where are we? you know, like, have we met some of our goals? Is 10 Things I Hate About You recorded yet, Mac?
Right.
It's like a check-in episode, like a halfway point.
Where are you at with your New Year's resolutions kind of thing?
Sure. I don't know, like a halfway point vibe.
Yeah,
if it
something.
fits naturally and keeps us, that would kind of keep us all on our toes too.
Oh,
that's right.
Well, like I said, no conclusions being drawn here. We've got some good ideas. If anybody watching this wants to suggest something that they think would make a great 300th episode, put that in the comments if you would like, or don't. We're not the boss of you. You can just be surprised at whatever we come up with. Anyway, this got to be kind of long, but I'm glad we got to spend this time reflecting on the year we've had here on the Cup.
There was a lot there.
And it was a long year. I can probably speak not only for ourselves, but everyone. 2025 felt like 5 years in one. Yeah, there was a lot of shedding, a lot of realizations, a lot of, you know, themes that really popped off the boards, probably more than some other years. This year was definitely a long one. And I think to honor that and to thank Art for kind of helping us along. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a real Project 2025, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh,
yikes. Jill, where can folks find and follow you?
Yeah, they can find and follow me at my artist Instagram account as per usual, which is Jillian.Robinson96. Couple things I want to highlight as we go into the new year. Once this episode is being released, I will have attended Riot King's New Year's Eve sort of indie caucus party, which is really cool. Thank you, Riot King, for establishing a meetup, a sort of party where indie companies can come together, share what they have upcoming. And I would love to see more of that going into 2026, kind of these pop-up parties where we all kind of gather together and chatting about the Cup at that party. Super great. Another thing that I am going to be working on, and right now it is in the works to happen early spring. I'm coming on as assistant director and dramaturg of a new musical called The Bells, which will center around the Bronte children. So it's been workshopped out west, but it's me right now on the production team with 2 writers and my good friend Katie, who's coming on as director. And we're excited to kind of do a workshop installment of that. So I told them today in our production meeting that I am going to be plugging this puppy wherever I am, whether it's on the Cup or at the Riot King party or on my Instagram page. So
nice.
Definitely keep your eyes peeled for that.
Cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
Mech, where can people find and follow you and hear you talk about all of Stephen Sondheim's canon?
Follow me at Mackenzie Horner on all social media platforms. By the time this episode comes out, we would have released our season finale episode, which was all about the musical Assassins, that had Autumn come back and join us as a guest panelist on that episode. So we love Autumn Smith for coming back and talking about that. So that was a great, interesting piece to discuss. Absolutely. And that's before the Downbeat Musical Podcast. And then follow me at Mackenzie Horner on all social media platforms. Ryan, give us that classic Ryan Borochovitz send-off we all know and love.
No need to find and follow me, but if you like me and my theater thoughts, they tend to live here on the Cup. That's at COH Theater on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Cup of Hemlock Theater on YouTube, Cup of Hemlock Theater podcast, and all the podcast places where you might be listening to this with your ears. I also write a weekly column for Next Magazine. It's called Theater Scenes. It comes out every Tuesday. If you want to know what's playing in Toronto or around Toronto and you want to hear my weird theater thoughts, a lot of them are there. I sometimes write reviews there too, less now than I did this time last year because I have a dissertation to finish. Huzzah.
Get it on, Ryan. Finish that dissertation.
That'd be nice.
Nice. All right, gang.
Oh, right, I was hosting. Yes, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in to our year-end review wrap-up. Farewell 2025. Hello 2026. We look forward to a fun year of covering theater enthusiastically. Hear, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Cheers.
Hear, cup of cheer. Bye, folks.
Bye.